Good morning, beloveds. I'm not sure if I'm firing on all cylinders yet this morning. Okay. All right. I got up at 6. I've been to work out. It is cold out there. We knew that when we heard the front blow in last night. He always gives me this brain teaser move early on because I always walk in like bleary-eyed, half asleep. In today's brain teaser it took me a minute to figure it out. Okay, it is December 14th. And our title today is Today I Recognize That I Am a Perfect Being Living Under Perfect Conditions. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. And that is from John 3. There is naught whatsoever higher than I. All this is threaded on me as rows of pearls on a string. And that's the Bhagavad Gita. Alright. All things are threaded on the divine, like rows of pearls on a string. Spiritual intuition tells us that beauty is at the root of everything. Ugliness is its suppositional opposite. We must sense not the opposite but the reality. It is this divine presence that we are to recognize. For every apparent opposite, we are to supply a realization of the truth about that opposite. In this way, we supply a spiritual sense that is transcendent of the form that the material sense has created. In this way, we can look at, in and through a difficulty or a difficult situation until we perceive the truth at the very center of its being. Thus, the devil, that is, evil or false appearance, is transmuted into an angel of light, for there is naught beside God. If everything enduring and true comes from God, the Creator, then we must be certain that no matter what the appearance is, the reality is always perfect. This is why Jesus tells us to judge not according to appearances, but to judge righteously. We shall always judge righteously when our knowledge is based upon the certainty of the divine presence, perfect at the center of everything. Today, I recognize that I am a perfect being living under perfect conditions, knowing that the good alone is real. I will also know that good alone is the only thing that has any power, either to act or to react. Everything that I do, say, or think today will be done, said, or thought from the spiritual viewpoint of God. Okay, I have thoughts, and I'm not sure that any of them are going to be coherent, so let's figure this out. Oi! Master's degree. PhD. Come on, Rita. I see you staring. Okay, let's start off with this title. Today I recognize that I am a perfect being living under perfect conditions. So realize that the definition of perfect is whole, complete, not flawless. Okay? So it means that you are a perfect being, but you don't have to be absolutely flawless. You can still make mistakes. And living under perfect conditions, you're living under whole conditions. That doesn't mean that everything around you is 100% what you would want, but it means that everything that you need is around you. All right, so let's start there. I don't know what to do with John. All things were made by him, and without him, not anything made that was made. Just the English teacher, my English teacher, Miss Mrs. McFall just right there, I can hear her screaming in the background going, that doesn't make sense. It's a Bible quote. It doesn't have to be grammatically correct. But it says the same thing that the Bhagavad Gita does. There is not whatsoever higher than I. All this is threaded on me as rows of pearls on a string. Basically, it was all made by God. It was all made by Spirit, and it was all made from Spirit. So let's start there. Okay, all things are threaded on the divine, like rows of pearls on a string. Spiritual intuition tells us that beauty is at the root of everything. Have you ever thought that? And would it change your world if you did think that? That's kind of that big question of, all right, there's beauty at that's why at the very beginning of all of this, 2020, I set out to take a picture of something beautiful every day. Because I wanted to see, I guess that was my way of searching for spirit every day, is to see something beautiful every day. And it helped. It helped a lot. Until it became a chore, and then I kind of eased off, and I was like, okay, well, I'll do it most days. Once it becomes a chore, okay, ugliness is its suppositional opposite. Go ahead and look that word up, suppositional. We must sense not the opposite, but the reality. In other words, when you are faced with ugliness, that's an effect, not the cause. Go look for the divine. Go look for the kernel of. Go look for the good. As Emma says, look for the good and praise it. We want to focus on the good, because the more good that when we focus on the good, when we focus what is working and what is right and expand that, that works a whole lot better than focusing on what is not. Because where our attention goes is where our energy goes, and if we are focused on the ugliness is going to get our attention, and it's going to expand. All right. It is this divine presence that we are to recognize. For every apparent opposite, we are to supply a realization of the truth about the opposite. And right in there, that's where I was like, that's the way practitioners are trained. Because frequently when people come to practitioners, they don't know what they want, but they do know what they don't want. So what we do is we start with what you don't want. And we go, okay, so tell me what you don't want. And then let's think about what the opposite is of what you do want. Or what you don't want. Yeah. Let's think about, so what's the opposite? Because that's probably the divine. So, I mean, if you don't know what you want, that's okay. Write down what you don't want. And then list next to it the opposite. And then focus on the opposite of what you don't want. And even if it's not exactly what you want, you'll be a whole lot closer to knowing what you actually do want. So it's a good place to start. In this way, we supply a spiritual sense that is transcendent of the form that the material sense has created. Okay? Let me try that again. In this way, we supply a spiritual sense that is transcendent beyond what the material has created. So, we get caught up in the material and forget that there's something beyond the material. The material world can absolutely be our shackle. I like to use Shakespeare's word, the mortal coil. We get confused in the mortal coil, forgetting that this isn't where we came from and this is not where we're going to stay. We're here for a time. So don't let the lowland air confuse you too much. I don't know where that just came from. It came from a book. I know it came from a book. I read a lot. All right. In this way, we can look at, in and through a difficulty or a difficult situation until we perceive the truth at the very center of its being. That's what I mean. It's like, okay, I know what I don't want. What do I want? Because what I do want is the kernel of the divine at the center of whatever situation I happen to be in. Thus, the devil, that is evil or false appearance, misuse or wrong thinking, is transmuted into an angel of light, for there is naught beside God. Well, I'm not sure I'd want to have that argument with a bunch of Christians that I know. Let's transform the devil into but he was Lucifer, morning star, angel of light. Evil is not a power. It is a misuse of the law. If everything enduring and true comes from God, the Creator, then we may be certain that no matter what the appearance is, the reality is always perfect. No matter what the appearance is, the reality is always perfect. And that is R, capital R. I should have said capital R. The reality is always perfect. This is why Jesus tells us to judge not according to appearances, but to judge righteously, which gets us into a whole lot of trouble. Judge not by the material effects. Judge righteously. Judge with your heart. Judge from that place that nothing has ever been wrong. Judge that place where you meet the divine, that place where you meet God. We shall always judge righteously when our knowledge is based upon the certainty of the divine presence, perfect at the center of everything. So when we judge, because he's not telling us not to judge. I mean, we're human, we're going to do it. But what he's telling us to do is to look for God at the center of the situation or the person. So when you're judging a person, the way to do it righteously is to see God looking back at you from that person, to see the divinity in that person, to see that they are made from spirit. And if you can see that, it's going to change the way you judge them. You still may not want anything to do with them, but it will change the way that you interact with them. And so, yeah. Okay, I'm going to let that go. It's that if you can look into another, you are not required to like everybody. You are required to love everybody. So when you are looking into the eyes of the person that you don't like, you want to see God looking back at you. And then let them go. You don't have to interact with them any more than is absolutely necessary. You know, if you're not in a safe situation, but you can give them the grace of seeing God looking back at them and knowing that they are a child of God, and hold that space for them until they can hold it for themselves. But you can do it from far away. All right. Today I recognize that I am a perfect being living under perfect conditions. If it helps, today I recognize that I am a whole being living under whole conditions. I have everything I need. I am everything that I need. Knowing that the good alone is real. I will also know that the good alone is the only thing that has any power either to act or to react. Evil cannot act on its own. It is not a power. Good is the only thing that can act. So we need to stop misusing the good. Everything that I do, say, or think today will be done, said, or thought from a spiritual viewpoint of God in everything. So our mission today, should we choose to accept it, is to act from a spiritual viewpoint. Climb the mountain, look from that inner spot, look from that place of nothing that has ever been wrong. Look from that place where you've never been hurt, I've never been hurt, the world's never been hurt. To look from that place, to take on God's view. And God's view is love. And that does not mean to put ourselves into situations where we could get hurt and other people can get hurt. But it is to hold that space for people who don't necessarily know who they are. That's a heck of a mission. We're climbing the mountain today. But we've been climbing the mountain for the month of December all month. Yeah, I mean, if we're going to get to the birth of the sun, he's going to make us work for it. All right. So that is Monday. And I'm going to encourage you, as I always do, because I think it's so important. Do something loving for yourself. Do something kind for yourself. Do something compassionate for yourself. Yeah. Every day. Live in that state of grace. Understand that you deserve love. You deserve your own love. You deserve the love of the divine, because the divine cannot do anything other than love you, and you are worthy. There is nothing that you have to do to make yourself worthy, and there is nothing that you can do to make yourself unworthy. You are a child of God in whom Spirit is well pleased, always and forever. I would encourage you to do something to engage your mind and your body, whether you do it inside or outside, because it's in the 40s out there. That's up to you. We had the windows open for a little bit yesterday, so we got to listen to the weather. But yeah, I'm not opening those windows today. But I will open the windows of my soul. I will allow the breath of heaven to remind me that I live in heaven now. I will look at the world from the mountaintop, from that spiritual viewpoint. I will look at I will look with the eyes of God. So I encourage you to do that too. To see heaven around you right now. And to carry that energy into the mortal coil, the material world. Don't be confused by the lowland air. All right, beloveds. Reverend David will be on with you around 5 p.m. today. I will be back with you at 9 a.m. I encourage you to have a wonderful day. And I'm about to grab her because she's sitting here purring. My little co-minister. Rita bids you a wonderful day. All right, beloveds, do what you need to do.